Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speak and Feel English, the place where we turn everyday conversations into powerful learning experiences. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects every single person, yet many people feel uncomfortable discussing it openly. And that topic is money and budgeting. I am Mia, and as always, I am joined by Ethan. Ethan, this is such an important conversation because money decisions shape our lifestyle, our stress levels, and even our future.
Absolutely, Mia. Money is not just about numbers. It is deeply connected to emotions, habits, and long-term planning. Many people earn well but still struggle financially because they do not understand how to manage their money effectively. That is why talking about budgeting is not just practical, it's essential.
I completely agree. And I think one of the biggest problems people face is that they see budgeting as restrictive, almost like a punishment, instead of seeing it as a tool for freedom. What do you think causes that mindset?
That's a great point. I believe the issue comes from how budgeting is presented. People often think it means cutting out everything enjoyable in life, but in reality, budgeting is about controlling your money instead of letting your money control you. It gives you clarity about where your money is going.
That is such a powerful way to put it. Control and clarity. When you don't track your spending, money seems to disappear, and you're left wondering where it all went. I have personally experienced that feeling, especially in my early working years.
Most people have, and that is why the first step in budgeting is awareness. Before you even create a plan, you need to understand your income and expenses. How much are you earning, and where exactly are you spending?
Yes, and that includes everything, not just major expenses like rent or bills, but also small daily purchases. Those small amounts can add up quickly without you realizing it.
Exactly. A coffee here, a subscription there, and suddenly a significant portion of your income is gone. This is why tracking expenses is so important. It helps you identify patterns and areas where you might be overspending.
Let's talk about income for a moment. Many people assume budgeting is only necessary if you have a limited income, but I believe it's equally important regardless of how much you earn.
I completely agree. In fact, people with higher incomes can sometimes fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation, where their expenses increase as their income increases. Without a budget, they may still end up saving very little.
That is such an important concept, lifestyle inflation. It can quietly prevent people from building wealth even when they have the capacity to do so. So budgeting isn't about limitation, it's about intention.
Well said. Budgeting is about deciding in advance how you want to use your money. Instead of reacting to expenses, you're proactively planning for them. That shift in thinking makes a huge difference.
So, if someone is just starting out, what would you say is the simplest way to begin budgeting without feeling overwhelmed?
I would suggest starting with a basic structure. Divide your income into categories such as needs, wants, and savings. Needs include essential expenses like housing, food, and utilities. Wants are things that improve your lifestyle but are not necessary. Savings include investments, emergency funds, and future goals.
That sounds very practical. It gives a clear framework without making things complicated. And I think it also helps people prioritize their spending.
Exactly. Once you categorize your expenses, you can see if your spending aligns with your priorities. If not, you can make adjustments. That's the beauty of budgeting. It's flexible and adaptable.
Another thing I've noticed is that many people avoid budgeting because they're afraid of facing their financial reality. It can be uncomfortable to see how much you're actually spending.
That's true, but avoiding it only makes things worse. Facing your finances honestly is the first step toward improvement. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's empowering in the long run.
I love that. Empowering. Because once you understand your financial situation, you can start making better decisions. You can set goals, reduce unnecessary expenses, and build a more secure future.
And speaking of goals, budgeting becomes much more meaningful when it's connected to something important, whether it's buying a home, traveling, or achieving financial independence. Having a goal gives your budget purpose.
That is such a great point. Without a goal, budgeting can feel like a chore. But with a goal, it becomes a strategy. It becomes something you want to do, not something you have to do.
Exactly. And that's where the mindset shift happens. You move from restriction to intention, from stress to control. That's the real power of budgeting.
We explored the mindset behind money and why budgeting is more about clarity and control than restriction. Now let us move into practical strategies, because understanding the concept is one thing, but applying it consistently is where most people struggle. Ethan, what would you say is one of the most effective ways to start applying a budget in daily life?
I would say consistency is the foundation of any successful budgeting strategy. It is not about creating a perfect plan once and expecting everything to fall into place automatically. Instead, it's about regularly reviewing and adjusting your budget based on your actual spending. A simple weekly check-in can make a significant difference.
That makes a lot of sense. Many people create a budget at the beginning of the month and then forget about it completely. By the end of the month, they are surprised that things did not go according to plan.
Exactly, and that is one of the most common mistakes. A budget is not a one-time activity, it is an ongoing process. When you review your spending regularly, you stay aware and can make small corrections before they become bigger problems.
Another strategy I've heard about is using separate accounts or categories for different types of expenses. Do you think that approach is helpful?
Yes, it can be very effective, especially for beginners. When you separate your money into categories, whether through different accounts or even digital tracking tools, you create a clear boundary for each type of spending. For example, you might allocate a specific amount for groceries, entertainment, and savings. Once that amount is used, you know it is time to stop spending in that category.
That creates a sense of discipline without feeling overly restrictive. It also reduces the chances of accidentally overspending in one area and affecting another.
Exactly. It builds awareness and control at the same time. Another useful strategy is automating your savings. Instead of waiting to see what is left at the end of the month, you set aside a portion of your income as soon as you receive it.
That is such a powerful habit. It shifts the mindset from saving what is left to spending what remains after saving. It ensures that your financial goals are prioritized.
Yes, and it removes the temptation to spend that money elsewhere. Automation makes the process effortless and consistent, which is key for long-term success.
Let us also talk about tracking tools. Some people prefer using apps, while others prefer simple methods like writing everything down. Do you think one approach is better than the other?
Not necessarily. The best method is the one you'll actually stick to. Some people enjoy the convenience and insights provided by apps, while others find manual tracking more engaging and intentional. The goal is not to use the most advanced tool, but to stay consistent with whichever method works for you.
That is very true. Simplicity often leads to better consistency. Now, let us discuss some common mistakes people make while budgeting, because avoiding these mistakes can save a lot of frustration.
One major mistake is underestimating expenses. People often forget to include irregular costs like maintenance, gifts, or unexpected repairs. When those expenses appear, they disrupt the entire budget.
Yes, and that can make people feel like their budget has failed, even though the issue was simply incomplete planning. Including a category for unexpected or irregular expenses can really help.
Absolutely. Another common mistake is being too strict. If your budget doesn't allow any room for enjoyment, it becomes difficult to maintain. People may follow it for a short time, but eventually they give up.
That is such an important point. A sustainable budget should include balance. It should allow you to enjoy your life while still working toward your goals.
Exactly. Budgeting is not about eliminating happiness, it's about aligning your spending with what truly matters to you. If you completely remove the things you enjoy, the process becomes exhausting.
Another mistake I've noticed is comparing your financial situation to others. People often try to match someone else's lifestyle without considering their own income and priorities.
That's a big one. Comparison can lead to unnecessary spending and financial stress. Your budget should reflect your personal goals and circumstances, not someone else's lifestyle.
It all comes back to awareness and intention. When you understand your own situation, you can make decisions that are right for you instead of trying to keep up with others.
Exactly. And one more mistake worth mentioning is ignoring small improvements. People sometimes think they need to make huge changes to see results, but even small adjustments can have a significant impact over time.
That is very encouraging, especially for beginners. It means you don't need to be perfect from the start. You can improve gradually and still make progress.
Absolutely. Budgeting is a journey, not a one-time fix. The goal is to build habits that support your financial well-being over time.
We discussed practical budgeting strategies and the common mistakes people should avoid. Now, let us take this conversation a step further and connect budgeting with saving and long term financial growth. Because ultimately, budgeting is not just about managing expenses, it is about building a secure and meaningful future. Ethan, how do you see the connection between budgeting and saving?
I see budgeting as the foundation that makes saving possible. Without a clear understanding of your income and expenses, saving becomes inconsistent and unpredictable. A budget creates space for saving by helping you allocate a portion of your income intentionally rather than leaving it to chance.
That is such an important distinction. Many people think saving is something they will do when they have extra money, but in reality, extra money rarely appears unless you plan for it.
Exactly. That is why the concept of paying yourself first is so powerful. When you treat savings as a priority instead of an afterthought, you begin to build financial stability over time. Even small, consistent contributions can grow significantly.
And I think that also reduces financial stress. When you have savings, you feel more secure because you know you have a buffer for unexpected situations.
Absolutely. An emergency fund is one of the most important aspects of financial planning. Life is unpredictable, and having savings set aside for emergencies prevents you from relying on debt when unexpected expenses arise.
That is a great point. Debt can quickly become overwhelming if it is used as a solution for every unexpected situation. Saving in advance helps you avoid that cycle.
Yes, and once you have a basic emergency fund, you can start thinking about long-term growth. This is where investing comes into the picture. Budgeting allows you to identify how much you can allocate toward investments regularly.
Investing can feel intimidating for many people, especially beginners. But I believe it becomes less overwhelming when you approach it step by step.
I agree. You do not need to know everything at once. The key is to start with a clear goal. Are you investing for retirement, a major purchase, or financial independence? Your goal will guide your decisions.
That makes it more purposeful. Instead of randomly putting money aside, you are working towards something specific. And I think that motivation makes it easier to stay consistent.
Exactly. Consistency is what drives long-term growth. When you invest regularly over time, you benefit from the power of compounding, where your money starts generating returns on itself.
That concept is truly fascinating. It shows how time can be more powerful than the amount you invest initially. Starting early, even with small amounts, can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Time is one of the most valuable factors in financial growth. The earlier you start, the more opportunity your money has to grow. But even if someone starts later, consistency still matters.
Another important aspect is balancing saving and spending. Some people focus so much on saving that they forget to enjoy their present life, while others spend too much and neglect their future.
That balance is essential. A healthy financial plan allows you to meet your current needs, enjoy your life, and still prepare for the future. Budgeting helps you create that balance by allocating money for each purpose.
It all comes back to intention again. When you plan your finances thoughtfully, you can avoid extremes and create a more stable and fulfilling lifestyle.
Exactly. And it's also important to review your financial plan regularly. As your income, goals, and responsibilities change, your budget and saving strategy should evolve as well.
That flexibility makes the process more realistic. Life is constantly changing, and your financial approach should adapt accordingly.
Yes, and one more thing to remember is that progress takes time. Building savings and growing investments is a gradual process. It requires patience and discipline, but the results are worth it.
That is a great reminder. People often expect quick results, but real financial stability is built over time through consistent effort and smart decisions.
Absolutely. And when you combine budgeting, saving, and investing, you create a strong financial system that supports both your present and your future.
We explored how budgeting connects to saving and long-term financial growth. Now, let us talk about something that everyone faces at some point: financial challenges. No matter how well you plan, unexpected situations can disrupt your budget. Ethan, why do you think it is important to prepare for these challenges in advance?
Because financial challenges are not a matter of if, but when. Unexpected expenses, job changes, or sudden responsibilities can affect anyone. Preparing in advance does not eliminate these challenges, but it reduces their impact and helps you respond calmly instead of reacting with stress.
That makes a lot of sense. I think one of the biggest problems people face during financial difficulties is panic. When something unexpected happens, they often feel overwhelmed and make rushed decisions.
Exactly, and that is why having a plan, even a simple one, can make a huge difference. When you already have a budget and some savings in place, you have a structure to rely on. It gives you confidence during uncertain times.
Let us talk about what someone should do when they face a financial setback. For example, if their expenses suddenly increase or their income decreases, what should be their first step?
The first step should be to reassess their budget. They need to review their current financial situation and identify which expenses are essential and which ones can be reduced or paused temporarily. This helps them regain control.
That requires honesty and clarity. It might not be easy to cut back on certain things, but it becomes necessary in challenging situations.
Absolutely, and it's important to remember that these adjustments are usually temporary. The goal is to stabilize your finances, not to permanently eliminate everything you enjoy.
Another important factor is maintaining consistency. Many people completely abandon their budget when things go wrong. Why do you think that happens?
I think it happens because people feel discouraged. They believe that if their plan is disrupted, it has failed completely. But in reality, setbacks are part of the process. A budget is meant to adapt, not remain perfect.
That is such an important perspective. Instead of seeing setbacks as failure, people should see them as opportunities to adjust and improve their approach.
Exactly. Flexibility is a key part of financial success. If you can adapt to changing circumstances, you can stay on track even when things are not ideal.
Let us also talk about emotional spending, because financial challenges often come with stress, and stress can lead to poor spending decisions.
That is very true. Emotional spending is one of the biggest obstacles to financial stability. When people feel stressed, they sometimes spend money to feel better in the moment, but that often creates more problems later.
So, how can someone manage that tendency?
Awareness is the first step. If you recognize that you're spending emotionally, you can pause and think before making a decision. It also helps to find alternative ways to manage stress, such as exercise, talking to someone, or engaging in activities that do not involve spending money.
That is very practical advice. It's about replacing habits rather than just trying to eliminate them. Another challenge people face is staying motivated over time.
Budgeting requires discipline, and it can feel repetitive.
That is true, but motivation often comes from seeing progress. When you track your savings, reduce debt, or achieve small goals, it reinforces your efforts. Celebrating small wins can help maintain motivation.
I like that idea of celebrating progress. It makes the journey feel rewarding instead of exhausting.
Exactly. Financial success is not about perfection. It's about persistence. If you continue making thoughtful decisions, even during difficult times, you will gradually build stability.
As we move into the final part of our conversation, let us bring everything together. We've discussed mindset, budgeting strategies, saving, investing, and handling challenges. Now, the key question is how to turn all of this into a sustainable lifestyle. Ethan, what does a sustainable financial lifestyle mean to you?
To me, it means creating a system where your financial habits support your life consistently over time. It is not about short-term discipline or temporary changes, but about building routines that become a natural part of your daily life.
That is a great way to define it. Sustainability is about balance and consistency, not extremes. It's about making financial decisions that you can maintain in the long run.
Exactly. One of the most important aspects of sustainability is simplicity. The more complicated your financial system is, the harder it becomes to maintain. A simple and clear budget is much easier to follow consistently.
That is very true. Simplicity reduces stress and makes the process more manageable. Another important factor is aligning your finances with your personal values and goals.
Yes, because when your spending reflects what truly matters to you, it becomes easier to stay committed. You are not just following a plan, you are living according to your priorities.
That creates a sense of purpose. Instead of feeling restricted, you feel intentional and in control. It changes your entire relationship with money.
Absolutely. And it's also important to continue learning and improving. Financial knowledge evolves, and staying informed helps you make better decisions over time.
That is a great point. Growth is an ongoing process, and being open to learning ensures that you keep improving your financial habits.
Another key aspect is reviewing your progress regularly. Just like we discussed earlier, your financial situation will change over time. Regular reviews help you stay aligned with your goals and make necessary adjustments.
That keeps your plan relevant and effective. It also helps you stay connected to your progress and achievements.
Exactly. And one more thing I would emphasize is patience. Building a strong financial foundation takes time. There are no shortcuts, but consistent effort leads to meaningful results.
That is such an important reminder. In a world where people expect quick results, patience becomes a powerful advantage.
Absolutely. And when you combine patience with consistency and awareness, you create a system that works for you in the long term.
This entire conversation has been incredibly valuable. We started with understanding money mindset and ended with building a sustainable financial lifestyle. It really shows how every aspect is connected.
Yes, and the key takeaway is that financial success is not about perfection or complexity. It's about clarity, consistency, and intentional decision-making.
Thank you for being part of this conversation. And to everyone listening, we hope this discussion helps you feel more confident and in control of your financial journey.
If you found this conversation helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel Speak and Feel English for more insightful discussions like this, and keep practicing with all our podcasts to improve both your financial understanding and your English communication skills.